the art of the untouched hand. A supreme authority never allows their hands to be sullied by trivial conquests. They understand that the sharpest weapon is not found within the scabbard, but within the desires of others. In the shadows of grand palaces, where power is measured by intrigue and silence, the art of borrowing the strength of others to remove obstacles has always been the pinnacle of ancient statecraft. Those who have just stepped into the vortex of power struggles often harbor the illusions of crude warriors. They prefer to swing the sword themselves, standing on the front lines to exert dominance, using physical might and ironclad words to force subjects to bow. But that is the way of the short lived in the Game of Thrones. A true monarch, a master manipulator, sees through the vanity of direct displays of force. When interests are already in conflict, the one with the upper hand needs only to give a push as light as a feather, and the opponents will rush at one another, nullifying themselves. The sharpest tool for consolidating a throne is not an army clad in iron armor, but rather the greed, envy, and resentment harbored in the hearts of subordinates. One lord thirsts for the fertile silt lands of another. A certain count is embittered because a court reward fell into the hands of an upstart. These conflicts are the fires smoldering beneath the ashes of false loyalty. A sovereign does not need to personally punish an arrogant man. To personally corner a traitor only makes oneself the focus of new animosities while exposing the limits of one's own power. Instead, the superior need only bestow an ambiguous favor or toss out a noble but hollow title before stepping back. Two factions will automatically vie for the privilege. They believe they are acting for the glory of their own clans, but in reality, they are merely blind gears performing the purge of the administrative machinery on behalf of the court. Exposing oneself in every dispute is an act that diminishes the dignity of absolute power. When a ruler constantly steps down from the throne to personally adjudicate or intervene, they inadvertently turn themselves into a faction equal to those below. Furthermore, every direct confrontation is an exposure of weakness. Every blow struck is a depletion of vitality. The one standing at the center of the storm is always the one under the greatest pressure from all directions, easily becoming the target for the ventings of the defeated. Meanwhile, withdrawing into the shadows and borrowing the claws of others to eliminate obstacles provides absolute safety. The hand of the architect of the chessboard remains pristine and untouched. When two subordinate powers plunge into the vortex of confrontation, the court reaps three immense benefits without expending a single soldier. First, the greatest threat to the throne has been restrained and decimated by another force. Second, the victor of that struggle, no matter how strong, will be exhausted, tattered, and severely weakened after a long journey of consuming resources. Third, and most importantly, the monarch maintains a perfect veneer of morality. When the battle ends, he slowly emerges from behind the regent's curtain. In the name of a benevolent and enlightened monarch protecting justice, he will use the law to punish the victor for the crime of aggression that disrupted the empire's peace, or strip him of the majority of his gains to re-establish balance. An invisible arrow is shot. Two proud swallows fall, yet the bow remains entirely in the hands of another. This art of manipulation is great because it is always draped in the resplendent cloak of justice and the greater good. A seasoned king never voices a desire to eliminate a growing power. He merely laments the decay of discipline and the cracks in the laws of the dynasty. He creates a forum for moral outrage, where opportunists quickly seize the moment to transform into messengers protecting the throne. By triggering the fuse of vanity, honor, and loyalty, the ruler legitimizes the harshest of purges. The one who strikes believes they are executing justice. The one struck down sinks into oblivion, surrounded by the shock of verdicts handed down in the name of the court. Meanwhile, the leader, the only one collecting the actual profit, plays the role of a judge grieving over the decline of the human heart. The core difference between the prey and the hunter lies in the ability to control indignation. The immature on the political stage often allow emotions to drive their behavior. When challenged, ego urges them to respond immediately, to strike hard to assert their status. This agitation turns them into blind beasts, charging straight at the red cape without seeing the pit hidden behind it. In contrast, the brain of a great ruler has no room for outbursts of rage. When an obstacle appears, they do not go mad. They calculate in silence. They search among the hundreds of eyes and ears at court to see who harbors jealousy toward that obstacle. Their job is simply to grant power and place it in the hands of the one nursing that grudge. This absolute coldness turns every risk into an opportunity, turning the enemy of an enemy into the most effective tool, used once, then discarded. However, this art requires the ability to judge timing with ruthless precision. Conflict cannot be created haphazardly. If one intervenes too early when the contradiction is not yet ripe, the confrontation will quickly wither for lack of momentum. If one acts too late, one faction may have already swallowed the other and grown too powerful, directly threatening central authority. The perfect moment is when the grievances of all parties have accumulated to the limit. With just a nonchalant blink from the superior or a deliberate, slight unfairness in resource allocation, everything will automatically explode along the calculated trajectory. A master of power is like a farmer watching rising floodwaters. Instead of using his own body to block the fierce waters, he simply digs a small trench, directing that destructive force straight into the enemy's territory. Why have these deep and devious schemes operated so smoothly through millennia of dynastic history? The profound principle lies in a thorough understanding of human arrogance and narrow-mindedness. Those chosen as tools always possess a delusional self-esteem. They believe they are clever enough to decide their own destiny. An exceptional prince never forces his subjects to do anything. Coercion breeds resistance. The pinnacle of manipulation is the creation of a circumstance, a strategic position where the opponent voluntarily sets foot on the path already laid out, carrying an ironclad belief that they are acting for their own benefit. They consciously sharpen their own will and aim at the target, completely blind to the thin silk thread pulling their strings from high above. Even when the deed is done, the one who was used sometimes still feels a sense of gratitude toward the one who created the opportunity. This is the invisible peak of the art of control. The court grants a general the right to govern a territory already rife with rebellion. That general joyfully accepts the seal of office, pouring the entire wealth and lives of his clan into pacifying the new land. The court loses not a single coin and spends no effort, but ultimately gains a submissive territory. As for the general, he is left drowning in the chaos of ruling a ruined land, surrounded by the treachery of the locals. A tool, once it has served its purpose and lost its edge, is cast into a dark corner without a second thought. Power has no room for compassion. It only recognizes the concept of utility. The pragmatic laws of the royal court also serve as a lens to dissect the patterns of interaction in the flow of human life. Wherever there is the presence of interest and fame, conflict is inevitable. The impulsive always rush into the center of the vortex of dispute, naively believing their logic and zeal will extinguish all injustice. They gallantly offer their backs to take the blows, turning themselves into shields for the murky calculations of others. When they fall, they carry the bitterness of a martyr, never knowing they were merely a sacrificial pawn on the chessboard of schemers. The truly wise never allow themselves to be the one who takes the blow. When there is a dispute, they absolutely do not rush to the center. When there is conflict, they are not foolish enough to turn themselves into a barrier. They know how to maintain stillness amidst a loud and agitated crowd. They take a step back to observe the entire network of intertwined interests, finding the weakest links and the points of conflict ready to snap. The quiet cultivation of a strategic thinker is the most overwhelming kind of power. It makes no sound and makes no show of force, yet it possesses the ability to reshape the entire surrounding order. When you are immobile, the opponent cannot discern your limits or intentions. That silence creates heavy psychological pressure, forcing those with hidden motives to expose their own flaws. While they act in haste out of fear of that invisible stillness, they will stumble into traps set by their own other enemies. Not everything requires showing one's face. Withdrawing, hiding ambition, and waiting for the shift in the state of affairs requires extraordinary courage and a patience far exceeding that of ordinary men. The amateur craves attention, wishing for applause when performing a heroic deed. The master considers attention a deadly nuisance. Standing hidden in the background, calmly observing while others exhaust their strength to pave the way, that is the supreme state of mastering destiny. The wise man is not the one who delivers the most powerful blow, but the one who has the capacity to make the world's blows automatically pivot to hit the desired target. In every aspect of existence, identifying the right resources and harnessing the natural force of all things is the key to preserving safety and reaching the summit. One who understands the situation will realize that this world is a massive system of reciprocal interactions. Push one pearl, and a string of pearls will collapse in succession. Instead of using all one's strength to topple an entire wall, one only needs to find the single brick bearing the least load and apply just enough force. The centrifugal force of envy and the inertia of greed will complete the rest of the task. Every conflict and scheme in the human realm carries within it an energy that can mutually self-destruct. The task of the one holding the game is to unlock that energy, then leisurely step aside to avoid the storm. Refusing to show one's face never equates to cowardice or evasion. On the contrary, it is a testament to a superior intellect and a cold mind unswayed by emotion. How decisive must one be to stand calmly and watch surrounding forces vie for glory? How pragmatic must one be to minutely calculate every drop of an enemy's vitality to turn it into a ladder for one's own advancement? Ancient dynasties were built firmly not on benevolence or the glamorous light of morality, but were fortified by the art of coordinating the ruin of others. The mediocre use their own strength to climb the high mountain. The exceptional use the thrust of 10,000 people to carry themselves to the peak. The hands remain clean, the robes untainted, while beneath their feet are countless souls exhausted from confronting one another. Once the illusion of ostentatious greatness is stripped away, the essence of supreme power remains only as cold calculation between the colliding trajectories of the human heart. When you see a tyrant fall or an alliance collapse, do not concern yourself with the one who directly struck them down. Turn your gaze to the darkest corners, where someone stands with hands folded, carrying no weapon, breaking no sweat, wearing only a silent smile. A hand that does not need to strike a single blow. Could that be the hand that truly pulls the strings of an entire era?